Hello, this is a quick tutorial on installing Kennel Connection 7.0 on a workstation computer. If you're watching this video, you should already have Kennel Connection 7 installed and operational on your main or server computer. In this video, we're not going to go through the download of the installation files since you had to do that on your main computer. You can either use those same downloaded files again, or you can go to our support center, support.bluecrystalsoftware.com, log in and obtain those files if you need them. So I'm going to head to my downloads folder, and again, this is on my workstation computer. And we're going to go ahead and run the KC7 setup first, as this is the main software install. I recommend a right click and run as administrator. Okay, and once the installer is ready, we'll click on Next, accept the license agreement, Next again. Always make sure you install to C/KC7. Click Next, and then click Install. Depending on the speed of your computer, this install may take a few seconds or a few minutes. Once it's done, click Finish. And now we want to install the latest KC7 update. So again, we'll right click and run as administrator on the update file. Alright, and the nice thing about Kennel Connection 7 is once you click Next, it automatically installs the update right where it needs to go. There's no browsing for the file location. And once it's done, we'll click Finish. Now you have the software with the latest update installed on your workstation computer. So I'll go ahead and close out of my File Explorer. And the next step is to point Kennel Connection 7 to the SQL Server running on your main or server computer. With previous versions, you had to manually edit the wkennel.ini file, but because KC7 has a setup wizard, all we need to do is double-click on the desktop icon to launch the software. And this is going to open the KC7 database wizard. Once it's open, click Next. And in this scenario, again, this is a workstation computer. It does not have any install of the SQL Server on this physical machine. The SQL Server is running on my main computer across the network. So I'm going to choose option 2. And click Next. At this time, it's going to scan your network to find any available versions of SQL Server. Any instances that you have running, it will find. Once it's done scanning your network, it'll bring you to this configuration screen here. Now, because on this workstation, I previously had Kennel Connection 6.0 using SQL Server, I can click the Get Settings from Previous Version button, and this will bring the exact same settings from KC6 to this KC7 wizard. Now, if you did not have KC6 using SQL on this computer prior to this installation, or you installed a new SQL instance on your main server computer specifically for Kennel Connection 7.0, you don't want to use this button, you would actually click the drop-down arrow next to SQL Server instance name, choose the correct or appropriate SQL Server instance, and manually enter the user ID and password created during the SQL install. In order to finish, we need to test and confirm the settings work. So I'll go ahead and click Test. And that's succeeded, so I'll click OK. And we'll click Finish. Please note that if you try to detect an SQL instance from a workstation and you cannot detect any instances, it usually means that firewall exclusions need to be set on your main or server computer within the Windows Firewall software. Once those are set, you should be able to run the wizard again and it'll detect your SQL instance. Once you're done with the wizard, that means you've successfully pointed the KC7 to the SQL instance across your network that was running on your main or server computer, and you've successfully installed and configured Kennel Connection 7 on this workstation. Now there's one last step to networking Kennel Connection 7. You do need to map a network drive directly to the KC7 folder on your main or server computer. I did go over setting the sharing permissions for the main KC7 folder in the install videos for a main or server computer. To map a network drive, it's very simple. The best way to do it is to open your File Explorer, right-click on Computer or this PC, and choose Map Network Drive. Next, we're going to choose the drive letter we want to use. I recommend K for Kennel Connection. Click Browse to browse your network for your main or server computer. In my case, my main computer is this ron-hp-win8. So I'm going to click the little arrow next to it. Click once on the KC7 folder, then click OK. So now we can see we have the K as the letter for the drive, ron-hp-win8/KC7, which means you're mapping directly to the KC7 folder, and make sure you have the Reconnect at Sign In checked. Once it looks good, click on Finish. If it's able to map directly to the KC7 folder without any issues, it will actually open up that folder. So you can see here, this is the KC7 folder on my main or server computer. So I'm going to go ahead and close right out of both these windows now. If you try to map that drive and when you click the Browse button, you can't find your main or server computer, or you don't see the KC7 folder underneath it, that means you have not set the permissions on the KC7 folder on your main or server computer. So you do need to go back to that computer, open up File Explorer, open your C drive and locate the KC7 folder. Simply right-click on KC7, choose Properties, choose the Sharing tab, and share that folder with everyone. And make sure you set the user everyone to have full read and write permissions. Again, I went over the sharing of that folder in the initial videos when installing KC7 to your main computer. Once you have the drive successfully mapped, we need to tell Kennel Connection 7 to use that drive. So we'll open up File Explorer, open up your C drive, and open up your KC7 folder. Again, this is on your workstation computer. We're going to locate the wkennel.ini file and just double click it and it'll open with Notepad. So at the very top here you can see two lines. We have data drive and data directory. Currently it's pointing to its local hard drive. So we need to change that to point to the map drive that we just created. So very simple. We delete the C and we use the letter K because that's the letter of the drive we created when we mapped it. And since we mapped directly to the KC7 folder, we don't need anything in this data directory line. So we're just going to go ahead and remove KC7. So this is exactly how it should look. Once you're done, click the X and make sure to save your changes. You can close out of File Explorer and you can go ahead and launch your KC7 software. If you open your KC7 software and notice that you don't have any icons showing, or if your reports aren't printing, odds are that the map drive was not done properly or was not done at all. So you want to open up your File Explorer on your Workstation computer and just verify that your map drive is there, that you can open it, and that it is pointing to the KC7 folder on your main or server computer. And that takes care of installing and configuring Kennel Connection 7 on a Workstation computer. If you have any questions, give us a call. Thanks.